Now, Puppet Theater presents Hansel and Gretel.
Disappeared, never to be seen or heard from again. Lord, man, that was a very spooky story. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to sleep tonight. Oh, they have all spirit stories.
And that one, Sam.
There are?
Come now, Beatrice. I don't think we should scare our friend here any further.
Why don't we stop telling scary stories for now?
Hey, I have an idea. What if we took a scary story and made it not so scary anymore? Maybe that would help Sam sleep tonight.
That's a great idea, George. Maybe we could make it a game.
And how exactly would we do that?
Well, we could tell the scariest story we could think of, one that most of us know.
Yes, and we can talk about the scary parts, and then together we can come up with something else that happens instead. Maybe something upbeat or humorous.
That sounds like a great idea. I feel better already.
Well, the scariest story I can think of is that dreadful fairy tale called Hansel and Gretel.
Yes, that one really needs to be changed in several places. It's really scary.
Let me see if I can remember how that story goes. Isn't there a famine in the land and everyone is starving? Hansel and Gretel are left alone in the forest by their parents. The witch wants to fatten them up in order to eat them later.
Guys, I'm not so sure about this.
Oh, don't worry, Sam. Think of it as a fun challenge for us to rewrite this story into something happy, or at least decently pleasant.
Okay, everyone, let's start at the beginning and talk through it together, scene by scene.
I'll start. Once upon a time, there was a cottage deep in the forest. A famine plagued the land, and there was very little food to eat.
Why does there have to be a famine where people are starving? That's not a fun way at all to begin a story.
I agree with you, Sam. How about this instead? Once upon a time, there was a cottage deep in a forest. Hansel and Gretel lived with their parents, who taught them how to gather food, how to cook, and how to store food for the winter.
Yes.
That sounds much better. So, how does the next part of the story go?
Since Hansel and Gretel's parents couldn't feed all four of them because of the famine, their parents decided to take them for a walk in the forest and abandon them to whatever creatures may be lurking about.
Oh dear.
But Hansel overheard the parents plotting to leave them in the forest, and he brought some breadcrumbs to drop so that he and his sister could find their way back home.
Oh, okay.
But the ravens of the forest swooped down and devoured the bread, leaving no trace of the way back home.
Oh no.
I thought they were crows, not ravens.
Ravens are much scarier.
Everyone, please! Let's get back to coming up with a not so scary version, okay?
Okay, I
Okay.
suppose.
Now, what could happen in this part of the story that could be a little more upbeat? Upbeat.
Uh,
Upbeat.
Maybe they could just go on a nice walk in the forest together and enjoy the day.
That's a great idea, Sam. Oh, maybe they
Picnic.
could even have a picnic together.
Yeah, that sounds much nicer. Well, I don't want to ask, but what's the next part of the story?
The
witch! She
Oh,
lives
no.
deep in the forest in a cottage made of candy.
Well, that doesn't sound so bad.
The house is made of candy and gingerbread to lure
Hungry travelers into her cottage.
And when they come in, she takes them prisoner and fattens them up.
so that she can throw them into the oven months later and eat them. What?
I think Beatrice is enjoying this a little too much. Okay, how can we portray this witch person in a better light?
I've got it. It's Hansel and Gretel's grandmother. When the family goes out for a walk together, they go visit their grandmother.
This is starting to sound like Little Red Riding Hood.
Yes, it's their grandmother. And she's a baker. She loves to bake and cook. So when the family comes to visit, she's preparing food and treats for them in her oven.
I love that idea. That sounds so much better.
What about the ending? In the real story, Hansel and Gretel shove the witch into the oven, and then they find a trunk with jewelry and clothes left behind by the witch's former victims. Then they take everything back home to their parents to sell and not to have to starve again.
What would be a good ending to our version of the story?
Let's see.
Hmm.
I think a lot of different things could happen. Maybe
Yeah.
someone is having a birthday and their visit to grandma's house is a birthday party.
Oh, birthday cake.
Hmm.
Or maybe they are all getting together to make plans to have a vacation together.
Oh, that's nice.
Or maybe they go to their grandmother's to help her with chores, like gardening or cleaning the house.
Cleaning,
love
cleaning,
gardening.
cleaning.
Hey, I have an idea. Why don't we ask our audience to finish our story and then send their endings to us? I bet they can come up with some creative endings.
That's a great idea, George.
Yes.
Hey, kids, talk to your grown up and come up with a new ending to the Hansel and Gretel story. Maybe one that's not so scary.
No.
Write it down and then send it to us here at the library.
Yes, it gets boring here in the jungle sometimes, and we would love to read your creative stories.
We might even be able to post them to the library's social media accounts to share with all our friends.
All of our friends.
You can drop your stories off at the Franklin branch of the Johnson County Public Library or email them to us at puppets@jcplin.org. Again, that's puppets@jcplin.org.
We look forward to finding out what's going to happen. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next month. I think I will actually be able to sleep well tonight.
Oh, yes, it is just about time for my beauty sleep.
Good night, everyone, and pleasant dreams, Sam.
Yes, sleep well, Sam, and we'll see you in the morning.
Nighty night.
Good night.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.